Hello and welcome to another edition of Channel 6 Scoreboard. Kara on the bench today, so you're going to have to deal with me, but got some exciting members. A newest member of the Channel 6 Scoreboard family, Mitchell Morgan, making his first appearance. He gets to argue against AJ. So, you know, this could be one of the great ones. So let's get started off with some baseball. UCA beat Wichita State 6-3 this Saturday, and you know, it was another big name that UCA got to beat. Jeffrey Enlow came up big with 8 strikeouts, Forrest Allday leading the way on the offensive side as he has really all season. Now, how impressed are you by the Bears coming away with a win like this?
I mean, it's huge for them. Wichita State's a good team. They've got a lot of history and tradition, even though they're not a big school. And in baseball, this is their strongest sport, so this is what they know how to do. And I think it's a very quality win. Wichita State, it wasn't quite the best circumstances for them as they've been snowed out of a lot of games already this season, but they've got quality wins already. They played Oral Roberts, who is in the Southland Conference, and that's going to be a test, and they beat them 5-4. So I think that was a good quality win, and Forrest Allday is just tearing it up right now in the leadoff position. Batting over 500, it's absolutely phenomenal how he's getting on base at almost a 600 clip, and leading the team in RBIs, you know, and has I believe the only home run, or one of the 2 home runs for this team this season. So, extremely impressive. Pitching, hitting, all around.
Yeah, and pitching, Jeffrey Enlow went 7 innings, and you know that leaves us bullpen only going 1 inning. And Wichita State is a big team. Made the College World Series once, won it. 7 times been there, a lot of postseason experience, so good win.
It definitely was, and you know, as you said, Forrest Allday coming up with these crazy numbers. This team is so good at just, you know, working counts. It's really gone through the entire lineup, and really someone I want to point out here real quick though, Jeffrey Enlow. I know at the beginning of the season he's a walk machine. We thought, you know, he's really a strikeout pitcher. If he doesn't have it going early, he's not going to get it. You know, he's shown us in 3 consistent starts. He's got good attack going right now. He's not letting guys get ahead of him. Really attacking. He's really finishing off. So Saturday spot as well as that Friday spot, both.
Yeah, I think he's showing off the work that he put in the offseason, because we based all our thoughts off of what happened last year. And he came in as a transfer, wasn't quite settled, I don't believe, and he did struggle at times. I mean, his ERA was probably higher than he really wanted it, and his walk-to-strikeout ratio was way higher than anybody wanted it. But he's come out and showed that he's owned in on some of these finer, you know, mechanics, and he's really putting the ball past the batters, getting it in the strike zone, and striking batters out without losing control. And I think that he is the vital piece to this pitching staff. You know, McClanahan's having a great year so far too, but Enlow's going to be the one that has to stay consistent. There's got to be consistency. You know, they can have great games and poor games, and what we want to see is even when they lose a game that they're in it. You know, and so if Enlow continues to pitch the way he is from the left-handed side, then this team's going to be, especially this pitching staff, is going to be very hard to beat.
Sure.
It definitely is. Now this UCA team is off to a hot start. The Bears beat the Privateers from the University of New Orleans over the weekend on Friday and Sunday. This brings the UCA home record to 11-0 at this point. They haven't played a lot of big names here. You know, they played Kansas and Wichita State, which are really big wins. But what do you see in this team right now? Is this hot start changing kind of how you saw this team coming into the season?
I knew they'd come in. I knew they had a lot of offensive weapons coming into the season. You look at Forrest Allday, have 25 hits so far, batting a .521. Pitching was my main question, and we already have 1 no-hitter with bigger staff. Jeffrey Enlow has a 1.64, 3 wins already. And you look at the other pitchers we have, McClanahan, who has a 3-0 record. We're doing really good so far.
Yeah, you know, pitching, we talked about it on the show since the first week, that was the key. We knew that offensively, this team, especially the first 3 guys in the order, were going to be competent. And we're going to produce. But in college baseball these days, it's all about pitching and small ball, you know, with the bats being the composite bats, changing the rules. So there is very little power, very little pop. And we knew Forrest Allday, after being just out of this world last season for this UCA Bear team, we knew that the offense would be good. I think the biggest surprise for this team, and one of the reasons they're in this position, 11-0 at home, is because of Bryce Bickerstaff, as you mentioned. He came in out of the bullpen last year, or started on Tuesday or Wednesday here and there, and showed a lot, but he never got a chance to start in that weekend series or on the Sunday like he is given now. And that no-hitter, absolutely phenomenal. The first no-hitter in history, or the second? First or second?
Yeah.
Second. But either way, just phenomenal. You don't hear about that every day, and especially from somebody you didn't expect to get much out, or you didn't know what you were getting. Not that you had low expectations, but you didn't know what you were getting exactly. All 3 weekend starters are under like a 2.4 ERA, and this pitching staff as a whole has an ERA of 2.12. So this pitching staff has really come out and lit it up, and if they can continue to be successful at home, I think they're going to have a good year, because they've got more than half of their games at home if you look at the schedule, and I think that if they can continue to dominate like the football team has on the Stripes, the home field advantage for the UCA athletic department seems to be working.
It definitely is. UCA's got that turf infield, which has paid a lot of dividends to UCA so far, with a lot of good teams coming in here wanting to play there. So UCA definitely stepping it up on the home field advantage side. And really one of the players I'm looking at right now is the player who's, I wouldn't say really struggling, but kind of struggling. Coming into the year, my man Jonathan Davis thought he was going to do some great things. He's still going to do some great things. We're not out on this one yet. So, just from one JD to another, man to man here, we got to step it up just a little bit. Forrest Allday doing some work. And we had a game last week where Doug Bottolato, Dougie V, Forrest Allday both hit home runs. Jump in on that. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, last year we saw Jonathan Davis did start off a little bit slower, and at the end of the year he had great numbers. So this may be something that Davis is used to. He's been through this before. Coming off of his freshman year, we thought, okay, maybe he's going through a sophomore slump, but he came back and ended conference play just absolutely on a tear. So if he can continue and if he can reproduce that, then I don't think it's going to matter, because they're already blowing teams out right now. They've already got such a huge run differential on the season. If he's hitting better at the end of the year, I don't think there'll be any complaints. Allday, I don't think you can keep up with the 521 average that Allday's putting up. So good luck to your boy JD, but I'm gonna stick with the right fielder.
So Mitchell, we haven't got your opinion on this hot button issue here at Channel 6. Allday or Davis?
Allday for sure. 25 hits, 521 so far. You can't argue with those statistics.
All right, yeah. I just like the Allday game we had last week, or the Davis game we had last week, where he went up to bat like 5-6 times and recorded like one at bat. He had sacrifice bunt, 3 walks. So those are the kind of games I think you're going to see. I don't see we're not going to see a lot of pretty counts out of this team some days, because they're just really patient and they're willing to play that small ball. They're willing to get these runners around, and this weekend they've got a big chance to do that. They're going to go to Grambling in the middle of the week. I think we can win.
Win.
Okay.
Swag.
So we're going to say that's a sweep for a win for me as well. So they're going to go to Grambling, then they're going to come back, and they're traveling to Starkville, Mississippi to play against, according to Baseball America, the number 3 ranked team in the country now. This is the second top 3 team they played. They lost to Vanderbilt a little earlier in the season. Is this big road trip? Do you think they do a little better?
I do, because they have 3 games. That's the key. They had 1 game against Vanderbilt in Nashville, a tough, deal, and they're going to Starkville, and that's going to be very tough. And it's possible that they don't fare so well, but they've got 3 games to show what they can do against the top talent in the country. You're not going to play a better team in the near future than Mississippi State. So going down there with the chance, with their pitching being hot the way that it is, the top of their lineup producing, we just mentioned Jonathan Davis. If he can get it going, and if the rest of this lineup continues the way that they're hitting and that pitching staff pitches well, who knows? They could pull one out, and I'm not going to bet against them. I'm not going to bet against them to possibly pull 1 or 2 games out of there. It's going to be tough for them to sweep the number 3 team in the country, but I have faith in my Bears.
All right.
Those are very good points. On the flip side of that, Mississippi State, like you said, ranked 3rd in some polls. They have 3 pitchers that are under 1 ERA, 8-0, so it's going to be really tough. I think having 3 games is crucial, because after the first game we can tell what they do, so we can really fare better than we did against Vanderbilt. And another key is Mississippi State has averaged 6,500 people at a baseball game. So keep in mind the home field advantage, but I think UCA can pull out a win.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going down here with excitement. No matter what happens, they're coming in as the underdogs. They're playing in front of 6,500 people, as you mentioned. Probably the biggest crowd they're going to play, and I haven't seen them play against a bigger crowd or heard of them playing against a bigger crowd. So I think that's going to be exciting for them. It's going to be a big stage for them. They're going to be pumped up. I know they were pumped up for that Vanderbilt game, but didn't go so well. I think they've got a chance to make some headway and be productive. And if they can come out with one win, I think they'll consider it a winning road trip.
And playing against Kansas and Vanderbilt and Wichita State, it really gives them confidence going to another big SEC school.
It definitely does, and I'm kind of hoping maybe it's a little cold out there as well, because this UCA team, they've got experience playing in cold conditions. Their run differential, if we take how high the temperature is compared to their run differential, I bet is a stupid number that's probably really high in the nation. So something to look at there. And you know, you look at those weekend starters, McClanahan, Enlow, and Biggerstaff. There's a chance, you know, they could go out there, give up only about 2 runs, and the bullpen hasn't really had to be used yet. But that's a good bullpen they've got with, you know, Kordsmeyer, Barr, just a few names that come in and throw strikes, get strikeouts, and really can get these guys out of a situation. So I'm excited to see if they can keep that score low. Also, if that offense can come along, they just need to still be patient. Can't force the issue. They're not going to beat them with probably strength in their bats. They're going to have to be smart, and they're going to have to play that smart ball. I'm really excited to see it, and I'm also kind of a homer, so maybe 2 wins.
It's all about the pitching.
Right.
I mean, the offense, Mississippi State's offense is nothing to write home about either. You know, it's all about the pitching. So it'll be great to see. I hope I get a chance to check some of it out.
Definitely, and you all should check out our next segment we have coming up, because Spencer Griffin, Kendall Myers have an intimate basketball show. Kara's not there, I'm not there, so it's just the 2 of them going at it. You're going to want to stick around for that. But before we go, I want to thank AJ Harper, and I want to thank you, Mitchell Morgan. First show, we're going to put this one in the archives and show it to you when you're done. So you're going to have a little embarrassing moment there, but we're going to go out to commercial break, then we're going to come back for Spencer and Griffin. Stay tuned.
The University of Central Arkansas offers programs you can't find anywhere else in the state.
Thank you.
Like digital filmmaking, an education that's helped me enter film festivals, and intern at a local TV station. UCA's given me school pride I can call my own, in a community that feels more like a family.
Action.
UCA put me and my education front and center. Learn how at uca.edu.
Welcome back. I'm here with Kendall Myers. How you doing, Kendall?
Doing good.
We're going to start off with some men's basketball. UCA beat Lamar Saturday 106-99 in double overtime. That game going into double overtime, does that worry you about the UCA Bears?
Oh, definitely it does. I mean, we explained this on the last show. I mean, with Lamar being one of the worst teams in the Southland Conference, we expected them, UCA, to get the win and get it pretty easily. I mean, they did win the last time at home by more than 25 points, and we just kind of figured they were going to go on the road and take care of business, which they did. I do applaud them. I don't want to take anything away from them because they did win the game, but the fact that it did go into double overtime is kind of what's scary about UCA and how they're playing right now. I mean, with Robert Crawford having 30 points, that he pretty much saved the day. I know that Quentin Miles had the shot, the three-pointer to send it into the second overtime, but with Robert Crawford's 30 points, if it wasn't for him, UCA may have lost this game and ended up knocking themselves out of any chance to get into the Southland Conference tournament. So I feel like with it going into double overtime, I mean, it is kind of scary, but I mean, a win is a win, but we expected them to win pretty easily on the road. Even though it was against Lamar, we felt like they should be able to go down there and take care of business.
Yeah, it does worry me too, because like you said, Lamar is one of the worst teams in the Southland Conference. Not trying to, just hate on them all the time or anything, but statistically it's true. And really for them to struggle against Lamar like that, you got to kind of send off a red light in your head and think we got to do something a little different. And like you said, thank God for Crawford having 30 points. He really did save the day, but I'm really surprised that LaQuentin Miles hit that three with 3.7 left. They had to inbound it, and he got it in. He was 5 of 23 from 3 before that, which is just 21.7%. Definitely not the player you expect to be taking that shot, but Crawford was fouled out at that point. And saying all that, while I am worried, I'm a little bit relieved after because UCA did come back and beat McNeese, which was, a team that you would see them struggle a little bit more against rather than Lamar. So that gives a little bit of relief right there. But you definitely don't like to see the last place team taking you into double overtime.
Right, and I mean, like we said, a win is a win. And I do applaud UCA for coming back because they were down by double digits at one point in the first half, and then coming out in the second half, they kind of went on a run. It was a 10-0 run. And if it wasn't for that, and like you said, Robert Crawford, I mean, this could have easily been a loss. So, I applaud them for coming back because UCA is definitely not known to be a second-half team from start pretty much to right now of the season. So, I mean, I do applaud them with them coming back and congratulate them on the win, but we definitely would have liked to see kind of a bigger lead and a bigger win going against a team like Lamar.
And speaking about the McNeese State game later in the week, UCA went on to play McNeese State in Lake Charles, and they pulled out a 68-67 victory in which the big three for UCA did pretty well rebounding and points-wise. How do you think they're playing right now, getting real close to the Southland Conference tournament?
Well, this win I feel like was huge. I mean, against Lamar, figured they'll get the win, just figured they would blow them out, honestly. But against McNeese, we said it last week, I mean, we kind of figured they would have some trouble against this team, especially with them being on the road, and the Bears really don't play too good on the road. And for them to come back from being 17 down, like applaud them for the comeback for the Lamar and for this game, more importantly because this game pretty much sealed their fate into the Southland Conference as long as they pretty much don't blow it at the end and lose some games with two games being left. So, I mean, with them coming down from 17 down, and like you said, Miles, Crawford, and Gardner had an awesome game, 48 points combined, 29 rebounds. That's more than half of the 68 points that the whole team scored as a whole. So with them going on a 10-4 run in the second half to cut this deficit down from 17 and getting this win, that was a huge win for the Bears. And I feel like that pretty much, I mean, they're going to get to the Southland Conference tournament as everything goes accordingly. But that game kind of solidified them. Like, we can beat any team. All we have to do is go on the road or protect our house at home and play good basketball. And I applaud Miles, Gardner, and Crawford because they played amazing with that 48 points.
Yeah, I think they're looking fantastic and right at the right time. You want to go into the Southland Conference with your big three, just looking at their top shape because, like you said, with all their points and rebounds, Crawford had 18 and 5, Miles 17 and 10, and Garner 13 and 14. It's not just the points that they're getting; it's the rebounds, and it's from the guards and forwards. Something you don't always expect. I mean, you don't expect Crawford to get many rebounds. 5, about average. What do you expect for him a game because of his outside shooting? But with Miles and Garner getting 24 rebounds combined, it's got to be a nice asset to have. And I feel like really the key person who stepped up in this big three and who's gotten more consistent over time has been Crawford. We saw him get pretty quiet in the first part of the season, not have some great games, just kind of laid back, not really touch the ball. But lately, I mean, he had that 30-point outburst against Lamar and then 18 points and 5 rebounds against McNeese State. I just feel like they're looking fantastic right now.
I agree. Right now, Crawford is MVP of this season. I mean, he's pretty much came on the right time at the very end when UCA has kind of been on the bubble if they're even going to make it to the Southland Conference tournament. We knew that game was going to be close. I mean, it was close and fair, so winning the triple overtime with Jarvis Gardner pretty much leading that team on that game with a 38-point performance. So we knew that this game was going to be close. The only difference was UCA is going to be on the road instead of being here home in the Fair Center. But I do congratulate them for being on the road and getting that win and coming back from such a huge deficit at 17. It's huge, and you know that their confidence has to be boosted, and as well as Corliss. I mean, he's probably feeling more confident on his team, and with Robert Crawford stepping up and kind of being the leader, and like I said, / MVP, it's good to see them getting things going at the very end of the season.
UCA has one more conference game, and it's going to be here in the Ferris Center against Oral Roberts, who is in third place in the Southland Conference right now. How do you think UCA's chances are of getting a win out of that game?
If you would have asked me this last week, probably at least before the McNeese State game, I probably would say that they're most likely going to end up losing this game, but try to keep it close because, I mean, the last time they played, it was on the road, and they lost 65-94. It wasn't a close game. The Big Three didn't have a big game. I think they had 34 points combined, and the highest scoring was Miles with 14. I think Robert Crawford had only 8. And so I feel like this is a brand new team, though, from, like I said, even a week ago. And Robert Crawford scoring 8 points, that's just not like him right now. He is on a hot streak. And so is the team. So, I mean, I feel like it being the last game at home, Coach Williamson is going to have this team ready to play. And I don't know if they're going to win this game, but I definitely do think it's going to be closer than a 65-94 blowout win. And I wouldn't be surprised if they won. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there and say UCA Bears is going to get this win. Last game at home against Oral Roberts, who is third right now in the Southland Conference. So it'll be a huge win to possibly be able to boost their seed. I mean, if things could fall off for a couple of teams and get some losses out of somewhere, I mean, this game is still important and could increase their seed in the Southland Conference tournament. So I do feel like I'm stepping out on a limb here, but I feel like they can get the win.
Yeah, I'm going to put their chances at really 50-50. I know it's kind of playing the fence, and nobody likes to see that, but I think it could go either way because Oral Roberts just came off a Lamar victory, which – I mean, that doesn't surprise anybody, but they also just lost 56-54 to McNeese State, and that's a team who UCA recently beat, like we were talking about. So that kind of momentum just coming into the game could really change the outcome. Also, they played Texas A&M Corpus Christi close with a 56-51 win. So I think UCA can take advantage of Oral Roberts kind of falling a little bit right now, where Oral Roberts has pretty much solidified their third spot in the conference. They're not really moving from there, lose or win too much. But UCA has a lot of chance to improve in the standings, so I figure they have more to play for, and they're going to have more heart going out there. So I'm with you. I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled out the win. All right, now we're going to switch gears to women's basketball. The Sugar Bears recently took on Lamar, hoping to upset the top seed in the Southland Conference, but they came up short 76-53. Megan Herbert missed most of the first half due to foul trouble. Lamar ended up outscoring UCA 44-30 in the second half. Do you think that UCA has what it takes, struggling right now? Do you think they have what it takes to take on teams like this?
I mean, I feel like they have what it takes. It's just up to them playing good basketball. I mean, we've seen this team lose to opponents that we thought they were going to win, which we did call it they were going to beat Lamar, even though they are the #1 seed. I mean, we both felt like if they would have a better chance of winning if they shut down Khalees Lloyd. I mean, last time they played in the Fair Center, went into overtime and they won. But Khalees Lloyd had, I think, 25 points. So we felt like if, she shut her down, they should have a good chance of winning. And she only had 14 points, but that was the big picture with Herbert being in foul trouble, only playing, I think, maybe 3 or 4 minutes in the first half. That killed the Bears because Doover only ended up with 8 points in the entire game. So with those two not having productive games, and I mean, I don't want to give anything away from her because she still finished with 18 points with only playing 3 minutes in the first half. So I feel like if she would have played the first half, it would have been a whole different game. But with her being in foul trouble and then the UCA Bears, Sugar Bears, didn't really step up in the scoring because, I mean, with her being out, that's a chunk of your scoring being gone. So I feel like with her being in foul trouble, Lamar just took advantage of it and they dominated, going on that 44-30 run. I mean, outscoring them 44-30, and I feel like they just took advantage of that, and that's how they got that win.
Yeah, I do think they have what it takes, and we saw that when they blew out Sam Houston State. It was pretty incredible to see that. But also they've had various players stepping up throughout some of these games with Rogers, Gowans providing some scoring, and we've even seen Bufkin and Parsons providing some scoring as well. With Parsons had 12 in their win against McNeese State, which is the most that she's had in conference play this season. So when you have players like that stepping up, it's going to be a lot easier to take the load off of Herbert and Doover. And we've seen that they can upset some of these teams, and when they get into the Southland Conference tournament, I think if I'm a team playing them, I'd be a little bit worried because you never know which UCA team you're going to see. Sometimes they're a little slower than others, and sometimes they'll blow out Sam Houston State. So you never really know. Right,
and they kind of went in the panic mode once Herbert had to sit on the bench. I mean, that's their star, that's their go-to player, and I don't want to take anything away from Lamar with the win because they shot 50% from the field and shot 50% from the three-point line. With that, that's kind of a recipe for a win. And when you take out the team with other team's best player in the first half, take her out early, not letting the other team get in a groove, and especially her. And I mean, they deserve to win. But with Herbert being fouled out, that was the key component for the Sugar Bears, and I feel like that's the main reason why they lost.
The Sugar Bears then went to take on McNeese State and came out with a win 77-69. Megan Herbert had a huge game, 35 points and 17 rebounds. How did the team look during this bounce-back game?
against this McNeese State team, they looked amazing, and of course so did Megan Herbert. I mean, with that 35-point performance, it just looked like she came out just ready to play. I mean, I know she was hurt when she got in foul trouble with that Lamar game, and I know she probably takes a lot of the load on her shoulders for that loss. And so with her coming out and having 35 points, 17 rebounds, I mean, I feel like solidified herself for one or two in the race for the Southland Conference Player of the Year. And Courtney Duver had a three to send the game into overtime, so I don't want to take away from anything of her heroics. But without Megan Herbert in this game, UCA, the Sugar Bears may have been blown out. And with being on the road and actually pulling out this win was huge for their morale because they haven't really been on a winning streak. They've kind of lost. They went on that 5-game losing streak and then got a key win, then lost and then get a key win. So I feel like this is one of the biggest wins of the season, especially when it comes down to late. And they had huge play from Rogers, Tracy Parsons, Watkins, and the Baggett sisters. They shut them down defensively. I mean, they had a combined 34, 35 points, but I mean, we felt like if they kind of kept them to a minimum, then they would have a good chance of winning this game. And I mean, I feel like everyone stepped up, including Herbert, for the Sugar Bears.
Yeah, even though we do talk about Herbert's big 35-point, 17-rebound game, four Sugar Bears were in double figures that game, and that's something we're not used to seeing. We usually see 2, sometimes 3, but seeing 4 really that's gonna help them win a lot of games if they can continue to do that. And it looks like that's really been their recipe of late, trying to get more people involved, more people scoring. Because you do have Herbert, and like we saw, she's going to get her points, 35 and 17 rebounds. That's phenomenal. But with supplemental players like Duver getting 13 and 14 rebounds, and Rogers getting 10 points, Parsons getting 12 points, that's just huge to have on your offensive end, in which they've struggled. Defensively, they've been pretty solid. They keep up the pressure and force turnovers, and that's not been a problem for the Sugar Bears. But with their offense lacking, if they can have people like this step up, I think they're gonna continue to win games. This is how they need to play.
Yeah, we feel like, I mean, this team can beat anybody as long as their guards came to play. And with Watkins being one of the guards, she had 7 points and 7 rebounds. I know that's just not huge, 35 and 17 numbers like Herbert. But when she's playing like that, not turning the ball over and being a facilitator, and you got Rogers, her senior leadership stepping up with 10 points, and then Parsons with 12, scoring her highest of the Southland Conference play in the Southland Conference play right now. I mean, when you have the guard step up, it makes it a lot easier and takes off a bigger load from Duver and Herbert because you know those two are going to produce. But when the guards step up too and produce, this team can beat anybody.
Do you think the guards have maybe realized that, you know, Micah Rice isn't coming back this season, you've got to do something, whereas the rest of the season they were kind of hopeful on her comeback?
Oh, definitely. And I feel like Coach Russian realized it too, and I guarantee she challenged her guards to step up because Michael Rice isn't going to come back to be able to bail them out or help them out. It's up to them. And they're young. They're freshmen and sophomores, so they still have a lot of learning to do. But I feel like the way they're playing right now, they're playing as if they're juniors or seniors, and they're stepping up at the right time towards the end of this season.
For the last conference game for the UCA Sugar Bears, Saturday, the Oral Roberts Golden Eagles will come to the Ferris Center. What are you hoping to see out of the UCA Sugar Bears this game?
I'm hoping to see exactly how they play pretty much against McNeese State. If they play like that, then they can win this game because they lost last time against Oral Roberts 69-76. And, I mean, it was a close game at the very end. But, I mean, with free throws, they kind of stretched the lead out a little bit to win by 7. And UCA hit 9 3-pointers in that game. And they were on fire, and yet they still came away with the loss. And the reason why they lost that game is because of turnovers. They had 18 turnovers, and Oral Roberts converted that to 24 points. That's easy. That's just handing them 24 points with you not being careful with the ball. So I feel like if they come out and play, and this is a totally different team than when they played Oral Roberts earlier in the season, then I feel like this game will be close, and I feel like the Sugar Bears can win.
I do hope to see good guard play and them spreading the ball out like they've been doing. Like we said, they got 4 players in double figures in the McNeese State game. I hope to keep seeing that offensively, and defensively I hope to keep seeing the pressure being put on, you know, usually by Gowans and Rogers, but, you know, you hope to have it from everybody. And the Oral Roberts looking a little bit vulnerable right now. They have recent losses to McNeese State, in which Sugar Bears beat, and Northwestern State, who's near the bottom of the Southland Conference. But they also did beat UCA earlier in the season after UCA blew them out. So something you can kind of see there, maybe a little bit of vulnerability that UCA can take advantage of, but definitely looking for some revenge on that 76-69 loss. I just hope to see balance really on both teams to get the job done for the Sugar Bears. Well, that's all we got for this episode of UCA Channel 6 Scoreboard. Thank you for joining us, and join us next time.